Hello everybody, welcome to the first optional Zoom meeting for Speeches That Change the World, COM 397, Topics in Communication, for spring 2023. I'm Jay Howard, the instructor, and something I wanted to do today was just to take a brief tour of Blackboard and to focus most of the time on the assignment sheet for the major papers in the class. So I've screen shared here on Zoom, and you can see the main page. All of the announcements are here. These announcements were all sent out in email as well, and they're archived here. I wanted to show you the syllabus. So I'm going to click on the very first link. I should also probably put on enter student preview mode so that it looks exactly like it looks on your guys' side of things. There we go, that's a little bit more streamlined. So I've got the course calendar here and the syllabus here. All of these links go to Google documents that are attached to my Google Drive, but I also have local Word document versions stored in the readings folder, which we'll get to. Let me know if these links don't work, or if something is a little bit unusual, or if you just if it's just not working and you'd like something provided in a different format, let me know and I can definitely provide that. The thing I wanted to show you in the syllabus, of course, it's important to familiarize yourself with the syllabus top to bottom. But I wanted to focus specifically on the part of the syllabus that shows the distribution of points in the class. That's the course assignments section right here. If you've taken a look at week number 1, you might note these items: the class photo album, the About Me Google form, and the speech selection proposal are all on the agenda for this week and are due at the end of the week. And then the other items, the speech analysis essays, of which there are 3, and then the peer reviews, are a big bulk of where most of the points are coming from in the class. There's also some weekly reflections that we'll talk about, and a sort of a culminating assignment. So I've got it pretty streamlined so that you're not getting like nickel and dimed with 1,000 little busy work assignments. I wanted to keep it all just meat and potatoes. All right. So if we go back to Blackboard, the course calendar is sort of the essential map to the class. We've got sort of a detailed version here where you can see things are divided by weeks. The week starts on Monday, ends on Sunday. As far as the information to take in, it's all listed here. And as far as the things to do, they're all listed here. For example, here's the optional Zoom meeting number 1 that we're engaged in right now. All assignments are due Sunday at midnight unless otherwise noted. There are some times where things need to be due earlier because of a break, or because of the end of the semester. Things are due Thursday in that case. There's also a simplified version of the schedule in the printable course calendar. It's identical. I've just condensed it formatting wise down to 1 page. Readings folder. All of the readings are contained in the individual weekly folders, but if you'd like to see an overview of the full reading load, here it is. We'll take a look at a few of these here in just a moment. I printed this all out for my personal use, and it added up to not very many pages. So it's certainly not equivalent to like reading a whole textbook or anything like that. It's also cheap. This is also cheaper than buying a textbook. All right, here's the weekly folders. I've got week 1 through 4, so that's half the class. The other weeks are in development, and they're almost ready to go live as well. If we go to week 1, which is the week that we're currently in, every folder will look basically like this. The first item is the information to take in, reading, listening, watching. So I've got my welcome mini lecture. You can watch it on YouTube. You can read the transcript if you want. And then my mini lecture, which is audible. You can listen or read the transcript. And then you have 3 readings for this week: In Defense of Film Criticism, the assignment sheet for the speech analysis essays, and my sample speech analysis essay about a speech that Malala gave. Then you have the weekly assignments, which are outlined here in this bulleted list and then detailed below. So like the first item listed is the class photo album, and the first item is the class photo album. Second is the Google form, second is the Google form. So you can kind of see how that is organized. So like I said, try to keep it simple and consistent and easy to read and understand. But if you do have any questions, or if something is just not looking the way it seems to you like it should, please reach out and let me know, and I'll be happy to fix it or clarify it. All right, main thing I wanted to do is talk about the assignment sheet for the speech analysis essays. This is a long and thorough document. The speech analysis essays are kind of multi-layered in their nature. There's a lot of different parts to it. And so that has led to the creation of this assignment sheet, which is somewhat of a peculiar document. There's lots of like bookmarks within the document, which could be a little strange if you're not used to them. So here's the overview. The first step is the speech selection proposal. You get to listen to and analyze 3 speeches over the course of this class, and you get to choose which speeches you would like to analyze. So the very first thing is to choose those speeches. And you can turn that assignment in here by clicking on the Google form. The link is also here by clicking on the Google form. It's all about the speech selection proposal. Rather than going into detail about that at the moment, I want to stick with this overview and talk about each one. The speech analysis essay is outlined here, and if you click on this link, it will take you to the page down below in this document that talks about that item. So same here, if you click on speech selection proposal, it'll just scroll you down to the speech selection proposal where you can see all the details. So think of this as like planning out what you're going to do for essay 1, 2, and 3. That's of course the first thing to do, and then you get into writing the essays. You'll write essay 1, do a peer review, and then write essay 2, do a peer review, and then write essay 3. And there is no peer review for essay 3 because we'll be bumping up against the end of the semester, and I want us to have plenty of time. And then this is the culminating assignment, the vivid language example bank. So let's talk about the speech analysis essay for a second. This is sort of, just think of it as a standard paper. If you've been in the Department of Communication for any length of time, you're going to have writing assignments in a variety of your classes. The first thing to do is make sure it's formatted right. So this is a Word document, double-spaced, 12-point font, Times New Roman, 1-inch margins, all that good stuff. And then you have watched a speech, presumably. You have to watch the speech before you can analyze it. So I'd like for you to put the link to the speech at the very top of your paper so that I can go and watch it myself, and then I can read your analysis. You should have an introduction to the beginning of your paper that very briefly states who gave the speech, the topic of the speech, and then your personal interest in the speaker. So in my case, I wrote about Malala She gave a speech to the UN Security Council, and I picked her because she is my hero. I think that she is just an amazing, inspiring person. And so that's really all I need to say in my intro. Background and speech summary. Um, the speech summary is brief, and I put in capital letters, very brief, because the focus of the paper isn't really on what the person said so much as like how they said it and why they said it the way they said it. But before we can get into the analysis, we do have to first establish what it even is we're talking about. So, a little bit about who the speaker is. So in my case, I would talk about Malala and um, the way that she is an advocate for education rights and women's rights and in opposition to the Taliban, and some of her origin story and who she was speaking to and why, and then a little bit of what she said. The longest section in my paper should be the analysis section, and I'm focusing here on the artful use of language, which is, if Malala used any similes or metaphors or alliteration or antithesis, the list goes on and on. Or even if she told any jokes, used any repetition, um, I can analyze her tone of voice, her eye contact, her gestures, whatever sticks out to you that you think is worth commenting on. You can comment on it. There is more details about the analysis section in below in this page, and if you click here, we'll look at those. But for now, I'll just finish out this box. Conclusion briefly restates the thesis and has closing thoughts. And then the reference page. In the process of writing this paper, you will inevitably use some sources. And so whatever sources you use, you want to go ahead and cite those sources, just like with any paper in any class that you've had prior to this point. And for those of you who might not be familiar or need a refresher, this website here that I've linked to has a nice and simple reminder of how to format the different types of sources you may be using. And I even use this all the time. Notice how they are formatted with a hanging indent, where everything is indented except for the first line. And, it's author's last name, first initial, year, title, URL. There are times when there isn't an author's last name, so that's when you put the organization's name, like so. National Institute of Mental Health might not be an individual, but it's still the name of the organization that I'm citing. All right. And then finally, a self-assessment. Before you turn anything in, I ask that you tack a self-assessment onto the end. Let's go ahead and look at the self-assessment now, and then we'll go up and talk a little bit more about the analysis, and then I'll conclude. So very simply, just copy and paste this into the very, very last page of your document before you submit it, after the reference pages, and use this as a checklist to make sure that you have done each and every one of the items that's needed, and that will help you ensure that your grade is where you want it to be for when I assess your paper. All right. Now I mentioned I wanted to talk about the analysis section just a tad more. And that's here. One of the most important things for the analysis section is what I call vivid language devices. The analysis section should focus on the speech's vivid language devices. You must identify at least 2 examples of vivid language in every speech. Click here for examples of vivid language. So let's click there and see what it is. It's going to take us to a new page. And this document is called 40 Vivid Language Devices from American Rhetoric. I won't read the whole page to you, but I do encourage you to read it. This is a page that basically shows you my personal digest of the content of this website, American Rhetoric, Rhetorical Figures and Sound. They have an index of rhetorical figures. So some of these you may have heard of before, like alliteration is one that a lot of people know, where multiple words all start with the same letter, like Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. That's alliteration. Oxymoron, where you put some opposites together. Hyperbole. What are some other things people are familiar with? Analogies. But there might be some that you are less familiar with here, and some that might even be difficult to pronounce because these are mostly in the Greek, Synecdoche. And so you can focus on the rhetorical figures or the vivid language devices with which you are most comfortable and familiar. Or if you want, you can pick one and learn about it and challenge yourself to try to find it in the speeches that you analyze. So in my page that I've linked to, I have all of those same vivid language devices on that website, but I've categorized them according to what they do. I've got the definition of the device if you want to learn some new devices. Also a pronunciation guide, an aphora, so that you can learn some new vocabulary words. And then if you want to see an example of an aphora, you can click there and it'll go specifically to examples from speeches when that vivid language device has been used before. Okay, so I spent a lot of time on this, putting this together. I hope that you get some use out of it. Anyway, so in your analysis, among the other things you might do, I will definitely be looking for your commentary on some vivid language devices. Here's some other writing prompts if you need some inspiration. You can ask yourself these questions as you listen to your speaker give their speech. Do they tell a joke? Do they use a metaphor or a simile? Do they use vivid language, repetition? Do they use anything from that page we were just looking at? Does the speech fit its intended genre? Does the speech reference the audience or the occasion or themselves? Does the audience seem to like the speech? Can you tell what their reaction is? Are they laughing? Are they clapping? Are they booing? Is there anything special about the way the speech is organized or what the speaker did? And then you can sort of think about your own reaction to the speech too. What did you learn about the speech? What did you learn about the act of speech making in general by listening to the speech? What did you learn about the speaker, about the world, or about yourself? Would you recommend the speech to others? You do not have to answer each and every one of these questions. These are all just writing prompts to get you thinking critically about the speech that you heard and interrogating your own experience of the speech. Like I said, please take your time and read through all of the items on the assignment sheet here. But my goal here is to give a orientation to this suite of assignments overall. The last thing I'll say is about the Vivid Language Example Bank. By the time we get to the end of the semester, you will have 3 papers all done on 3 different speakers, and on 3 different speeches. And in each of those papers, you will have identified some vivid language devices for each of those 3 papers. All you have to do for the Vivid Language Example Bank is to pull out the vivid language devices you found in paper 1, paper 2, and paper 3, and put them all together into one document. And we talk about that here in this example. Let's pretend that when I was analyzing my first speech by Taylor Swift, I found a metaphor in alliteration. In my second speech by Malala, I found metaphor in anaphora. You never know what you might find. These are just examples. My third speech by Bush, I found alliteration and simile. In this theoretical example of me finding these items throughout the course of the semester, my vivid language example bank would look like this. I would get all the metaphors I found together, the Taylor Swift one and the Malala one, and I would put those examples both together under the heading of metaphor, and so on throughout. I'd like for you to just actually transcribe the sentence or paragraph where they said those things, and you likely will have already done that if you found this and wrote about it in the analysis section of the paper earlier in the semester. All right. Let's see. So that's an overview of the assignment sheet. It's also an overview of the Blackboard page. We've got the welcome page that you probably have recently familiarized yourself with. I opened the class a week early, so we had week 0. Got a picture of my dogs, Peppercorn and Fern. Fern is really my wife's dog, and Peppercorn is my dog. Secretly, depending on who you ask, we think they're both, that we are each their favorite person. I think that Fern is really, I'm her favorite. But anyway, that concludes the remarks that I had prepared for you today. Let's see here. If this were an in-person class or a class with a big group, we'd go into Q&A mode at this time. Instead, what we'll do is I am going to post this on Blackboard if I can figure out how to do that. And after watching my presentation, if you have questions, email me the questions that sprang to your mind as you were listening, and I'd be happy to put those together into an FAQ page. Any question that is on your mind is likely on the minds of all of your classmates as well. So it may just not have occurred to me to address it. So you do everybody a favor by making me aware of the question. There are no silly questions. I welcome them. And I'll go ahead and stop the recording now and interact with the folks who are here on the Zoom meeting. But again, if you're not at the meeting and you have any questions, do reach out anytime via email or stop by my office as well. I'm in Craig Hall 366. Thanks so much.